Keto cheat day. How serious is cheating on keto? And if you do, how long does it take to get back into ketosis? Today I'm going to talk about how to make some smart decisions around that cheating so that you can minimize the damage if you do. Coming right up. Hey, I'm Dr. Ekberg. I'm a holistic doctor and a former Olympic decathlete. And if you want to truly master health by understanding how the body really works, make sure that you subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss anything. A lot of people try keto and they get great results, but it's also, for a lot of people, it feels like a great commitment, like too much of a commitment. Like I can do it, but not if I have to do it all the time. I can't do it if I'm not allowed to make exceptions. So there's a lot of talk about cheat days, and some people even turn it into an art form on how to cheat as much as possible. Well, I don't think that you want to do it a lot, but we're going to talk about how to minimize the damage and when it might be okay to do it. First of all, people want to know, if I do cheat, am I just totally setting myself back? How long is it going to take to get back into ketosis if I do? So there's some variables here we want to think about. Genetics play a role. Momentum is a big word, meaning how long have you done it? How well has it been going? How strongly are you into fat burning? Your age, your metabolism, and the degree of the cheat. So if you cheat, obviously, if you cheat a lot, then it's going to make more damage than if you cheat just a little bit. And also the length of the cheat. Is it just a meal, or do you stretch it into a day or maybe a whole week? So those obviously make a huge difference because it depends on how much momentum you have and how much of that momentum you break. So one way of looking at it is, if someone they started very insulin resistant and then they worked their way down, they were very, very consistent, and they've done keto, low carb, intermittent fasting for years. Now they're very, very stable, they're insulin sensitive, their bodies are totally fat adapted. Now, if this person goes to a party and gets out of ketosis, they have a few drinks, they have some cake, they eat some pie or some potatoes, then it's just going to be a blip. All right, they're going to get out of ketosis, but their bodies have so much momentum, they're so entrenched in that habit, in their physiology, that in 12 to 24 hours, they're going to be right back. It's like it almost never happened. And as long as they don't do that every week or a couple of times a week, then they're going to maintain that physiological habit. Okay? It's like momentum. How deep in are you? Another person, though, who might just have started keto, they might just have been going a couple of weeks. They measure their ketone and say, oh, great, I have ketones, I'm in ketosis. Well, their body isn't totally fat adapted. Yeah, they're burning fat because that's what they're eating the most part, but they haven't really converted their entire physiology there. The habit of their body isn't there yet. So if these people cheat, it might be several days or even up to a couple of weeks before they get back to the place that they were. So keep all of those things in mind, that it depends on your momentum. Your body creates habits, and just like it took you a long, long time to get insulin resistance, it's going to take you a while to become insulin sensitive. So I'm not going to tell you whether it's okay to cheat or not, but ideally I would say don't cheat. But at the same time, if you feel deprived, then that's not a good thing. That's putting stress on you, and you're probably not going to be able to keep it up. But ideally, you want to be able to not cheat. But if you cheat, the question is why? Are you not satisfied? Is the food not satiating? Are you bored? Is there not enough variety? Those are all things that you can do something about. Probably the most common thing, though, is that people go on a trip and they're tempted, or they don't feel like there's enough alternatives. Or they have a holiday or a birthday and they feel that this is the one time that it's just not right to not participate in the celebration, whether it's someone else's birthday or maybe even your own. So there could be lots of different reasons. So we're going to talk about two things. First, how you can set yourself up to reduce the chance or the risk or the need to cheat. And then we're going to talk about how to minimize the damage if you feel like you have to. So the first way to set yourself up not to cheat is to truly, really become fat adapted. Because if you're all the way fat adapted, then you really are not going to have any cravings. You're not going to feel the need for that pizza or that ice cream. To the extent that you do, it's going to be an emotional need. It's going to be a memory. It's going to be people talking about it. It's going to be watching commercials of pizza all the time and reliving certain emotions. But if you're truly fat adapted, then you are not going to have those cravings. You're not going to have that need. So the longer and more consistent you can let yourself become fat adapted and get that momentum, the more stable you're going to be. Then you want to develop a variety of good food. There are thousands of different options. And if you just go online on a regular basis, or you buy several different cookbooks, and you consistently try new things, then you're going to build a wonderful variety, and you're going to feel so satisfied. It's going to be so rewarding with all that keto food that you're probably not going to feel the need. The only time would be like a birthday, and you just know that grandma's going to bake a cake. She's going to do it just for you, and your life is over. You'll be shamed if you refuse. But if you develop a great variety on keto, then you'll be so satisfied that the longer you go, the less you'll feel the need. You can also have keto treats. There are ways to make fat bombs and cookies and desserts that, even though they're not full of sugar, and even though they're not maybe exactly like you remember, they're going to be very, very close, and they're going to be very rewarding. The fourth thing you want to make sure is don't keep junk at home, okay? If it's at home, it's going to get eaten at some point. So finish it or throw it out and don't buy it again. If you only have good stuff at home, then that's what you're going to eat. That one's pretty simple, but it is so powerful that once you sort of make the clean break, once you get fat adapted and you decide you get into it, then clean out the cupboards. Just don't have those carbs and that sugar and the desserts and those tempting things around, because eventually they'll get consumed. Number 5, as much as possible, if you're going to have a treat, if you're going to have a party, if you're going to have some way of celebrating or making a big deal, then make it a keto feast as far as possible. Then maybe just overeat. Instead of having one steak, just have 2. So you probably won't lose weight, but at least you're not going to spike your blood sugar, you're not going to ruin your ketones, and what will probably happen is you just won't eat anything the next day. So now let's talk about if you do end up in a situation either where you feel you have no choice, or if you really feel like, hey, part of my life is to celebrate. Part of my life is to have special treats. Part of my life is variety. So I'm going to do this no matter what. Then the first thing I want to suggest is don't call it a cheat day. Call it a celebration, because cheating, it's such a negative word. It's like we're supposed to feel ashamed after cheating. We're supposed to put ourselves down and beat up on ourselves. So just change it and say that, hey, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to celebrate. And if you're going to celebrate, then try to have a plan. Decide ahead of time that it's going to be a one-time thing. Decide what you're going to eat, and don't just sort of leave it open-ended, because then there are too many options for it to get totally out of control. If you're going to celebrate and you have a plan, then make it count. Make it a special occasion. Buy something really, really good. If you're going to have ice cream, if you need to have ice cream, then don't buy cheap ice cream. Buy the best ice cream you know. Buy the best, most expensive, the fattiest, richest ice cream you can. If you're going to have a couple of cookies, make sure they're dripping with butter. Make sure that they're the best, crispiest, flakiest things that you can find. If you're going to have a beer, don't drink something that you don't like, that's low in calories. Drink something that counts. Have something that is truly, truly satisfying, and then make it count. Sit down, make it an occasion, put some nice tablecloth, light some candles, put some flowers on the table, whether it's yourself or with somebody. But make it count. Truly make it a celebration. Don't just buy a six-pack of muffins and down them with a Coke. Make it special. The third thing that you can do to minimize the damage is, even if you're going to celebrate, there's a big difference between having that rich, satisfying ice cream with maybe a really rich cheesecake or brownie, as opposed to having a ice cream float or something that's just pure sugar and chemicals, all right? You can keep it more or less close to keto. You can still have it, even if it has some sugar and it's really rich and decadent, it could still have some good fats in it. You could still make it yourself maybe, but keep it as close to keto as possible. Once you go and you decide, I'm going to do this, and you make some purchases, buy enough for one time, okay? Don't buy a six-pack because it's more economical. Don't buy the case because it's cheaper per item. Don't go to Costco because it's Halloween and buy the 14-pound bag with 800 pieces of candy just because it's so cheap they're practically giving it away. Buy what you could reasonably eat without getting just totally out of control on one occasion, and finish it and be done with it, all right? Because if they're leftovers, then they're gonna get eaten. And then when you've had the party, now it's time to forgive yourself. Because a lot of times a lot of the damage comes from us beating up on ourselves. And we're saying, oh, I shouldn't have done it, I shouldn't have done it, I shouldn't have done it. And believe it or not, the worse you feel about it, the more likely that you're going to do it again. The more likely that you'll say, oh, well, you know, I blew it, so I might as well just start over next week. Don't do that. Forgive yourself, plan ahead, forgive yourself, feel good about it, and get right back to it. Okay? Make it one meal, and then you know the rules, you know what you had, what your plan was, and you go right back to it. Same thing holds true if it's on a trip, especially. And I know myself, I've been guilty of this. You go on a week-long trip and your intentions are good, so you last 2 or 3 days, and then there's just that special thing. It's like, oh, I remember that kind of bread that was so good. And you smell it, and yeah, this bread would be worth it. And you have a bite. And then if that's all you did, that wouldn't be such a big deal. But if you beat up on yourself and you say, oh, I guess I blew it. Well, you know, there's just 4 days left on the trip. I might as well go ahead and enjoy it, right? Well, that's not such a great idea, because that's a huge difference. That is basically the difference between a few hours and days to weeks. Forgive yourself is very, very important. It's natural. It's okay. Your ancestors, they found a beehive, they found a fruit tree, they killed an animal, they had a party. There's going to be times with ups and downs. It's all right. Just move on and get right back to it. Number 6, exercise. If you have a plan, then you probably want to do a little extra exercise beforehand, because that's really going to empty out that glycogen. It's going to make you a little more insulin sensitive. So then when you fill it up, you're going to fill that glycogen store really well. And then you go and exercise after again. Okay, you can give yourself a couple of hours. You don't want to exercise with a full stomach, but just work out, move a little bit extra before and after, and that's going to dramatically reduce the insulin resistance. The amount of insulin, you're going to stay more insulin sensitive. We're all human. Life happens, things happen. Be easy on yourself. Know that things are going to happen, but stay true to your goals. Learn as much as you can, understand why you're doing it. Motivate yourself, set up your goal, imagine how good you're going to feel when you get there, and the stronger you can hold on to that goal with a good expectation, the easier it's going to be for you to handle these challenges and to move on if it happens. And again, it's not a wrong thing. I'm not saying that you should never celebrate. I mean, do that once in a while, but don't do it all the time. If you enjoyed this video, I think you're really going to learn a lot from that one. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.